that? Never mind that. What was that?
Hi!
Who are you?
BARFF!
Not in here, mister. This is a Mercedes.
Nah, that's my name. BARFF!
BARFF? What are you?
And here we go. BARFF Fantasy Football Podcast. Season 4, Episode 11. The pain of fantasy football is really reaching deep here in week 11 as we're heading into week 11. We've got a caller on the line already. The owner of... nope, we don't have a caller on the line because I haven't plugged the phone in yet. Hold on there. You guys will all hear him in a second, but Christian's going to join us. No lineup needed is going to be on the line. And let's see if
that's
he can
exciting.
check in. Christian, can you hear us?
I can. Hello.
Hey,
Hello,
Christian.
Hello. All right. So
Hello.
we are going to be talking about last week's action. There's a lot of trades to talk about, and it was an exciting week in BARFF with the moves, but in my opinion, not so much with the games. Well,
I don't disagree, but I must say I'm starting to like the Friday night podcast because a lot transpires.
there's a lot,
and
It's
we got a lot more
about.
to talk about now. So I don't know. We might have to settle in on this
There is a lot to talk about
because there's a ton to talk about.
Where do we want to start this week?
Well, I want to keep the mojo and do the same things that I did the week before to keep it going. So let's talk about my game.
All right, let's look at the Week 10 scores, and we're going to look at Born to Run's game against the Knuckleheads. And this was a co-host of the show going at it, and Born to Run picks up this is a must-win to pick up the third win.
It was a must-win.
135 to 123. Tell me about your victory.
I think it all came down to that. Like, you had a really nice day of Justin Herbert, which of course concerned me. But then when Dak kind of just offsets it and actually goes ahead of it,
yeah.
And maybe some of my mojo's returning back because I plugged in Foreman, which is 17, and I think my even better plug-in is with no bidding dollars. I was able to take Tyler Boyd off the scrap heap and throw him in, and he got 20 points.
Yeah, I tell you, I was looking at that because I tend to end up with Tyler Boyd. I don't know why, but I just gravitate towards him over the last few years, and it was odd for me to see him in another lineup, and he performed well for you.
Yeah, so to me, he had a nice week overall. Barkley was a tough matchup. We knew that going in. So, but again, a pretty good week. I don't know. I didn't look against how you would have fared against other teams in the league.
I think I would have beat half of them.
Yeah. So, but that's what it was. It was a good week. Yeah. But so I think hopefully this is the beginning of me doing good things versus all the bad things I did in the first 8 weeks.
Yeah, when we're talking about a week when the team that scores 135 points is not the week's high score, and it's not even the second high score.
Not even close.
It's a good week for some teams. Christian, when you look at this game, Born to Run versus the Knuckleheads, anything jump out at you outside of the fact that the Knuckleheads slide to 3-7 once again?
No, I think it's just this was the good game. Like, this was one of the tighter ones. Not the tightest, but no, I think it was just a strong showing, and Brian's just unfortunate that you got stacked up against Born to Run this week. That's really it.
I feel also that it was unfortunate, and the Knuckleheads now, I don't know, I'd have to go back to week 10s in the previous years, but 3-7, it seems pretty consistent. And so I'm going to play what I feel that the Knuckleheads season has become. Once again, the atomic bomb blows up because absolutely not. While I admire, Walt, your competitive spirit, you grabbed onto that third win. We talked about it last week. You really wanted that third win, and you're in position. With 4 weeks left, I feel like, yes, you are in position because you have hope. I have no hope. I have been here before. There is no hope. I am in spoiler mode once again 10 weeks in.
Yeah, I usually try to talk people out of the dark place like this, but
no.
I don't know if I can. It's tough to argue with you. It's just I don't know what it is.
We'll talk about it later on. I put the Death Star up. I am in complete spoiler mode. I am looking only to screw up people's seasons as much as humanly possible. I will tell you, I picked up a player this week I put a ton of money. I put $58 on my pickup this week. Do you know
Nice.
why I chose that in total, Walt?
No.
Because when I looked at the offers and the budgets that were available, the next closest person to me had $57.
Oh, nice.
And so what I did was I made sure no one else in the league could get Ty
touch it.
Chandler. And I think 4 or 5 people tried. And so I sat back with a beverage on Thursday morning, and I went, and that's the only joy I get out of fantasy football right now.
I love it. That's outstanding.
Yeah, well, there's more to come. Damn, fantasy football. Where are we going next?
Well, I think, we talked last week and we thought we were going to have all these close games, but let's look at the Beans against the Moppers.
Yes,
Maybe
yes,
a statement game for the Beans.
Yeah, we talked about this last week. This was one of those games that I saw coming up, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a lot of fun to watch. And it wasn't fun to watch.
No.
The Beans moved to 7-3, dropping Whopper Moppers to 7-3, but a big 155-94
Huge.
victory over for the Beans. And what did it for them? This is top to bottom.
Yeah, I mean, you got 28 out of Robinson, Evans, Lockett. Goff was good. It was just a nice all-around scoring day, and there was a little bit of a power outage on the Moppers. When Stephon Diggs only gets 6 points against Denver, who saw that coming? Right?
Yep.
So, and then Madison went out early with a concussion.
Yes.
It's always an uphill battle when you lose a guy early on in the game. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, that was unfortunate for the Moppers.
Absolutely. They got betrayed by Travis Etienne, who has become one of those reliable fantasy guys in the second half of the season, and he puts up 5. It's bad for them. And then the players on the bye that you would normally have carrying you over just weren't available. You got A.J. Brown on the bench, and that's a big horse.
Yeah, huge. That's a huge loss. So,
But Boston Beans making the right moves, having Jared Goff in there at QB, and Brian Robinson, they've been sticking with him. He outscores his running mate Christian McCaffrey this week. Christian, when you look at the Boston Beans lineup right now, weaknesses. I don't know. We were talking about when McCaffrey gets hurt. Well, maybe that's the angle we'll take. Like a full season out of Christian McCaffrey, can that take this Boston Beans team all the way?
So I don't think Tony's going to ever get the fraud accusations removed unless he wins. Like, I don't know. I'll say that. Like, you're getting 28 points from Brian Robinson, 23 points from Tyler Lockett, which are historically not very consistent players. Like, I think that I don't necessarily think he's a fraud, but I'm saying that some people will say that until he gets the toilet seat again, like with this team. I seriously, like,
that's pretty
it's
good.
kind of unbelievable he's doing so well, in my opinion.
That's pretty good. Kuz is on the chat, having a good conversation with Sox fan 7687, who's probably tuning in from under a bridge somewhere.
no, it says Folsom State Prison.
He's
Yeah,
he's from Folsom Prison.
Yeah,
Wow.
nice.
I have a new respect for Sox fan 7687, and they're exchanging compliments. It's nice so far. We'll see as the show goes on whether or not that tone stays where it's at. So that's a great victory though for Boston Beans. It's a statement game. But still, Walt, 155, big total, not good enough for high total this week.
Yeah, so let's roll right to that, and maybe Christian's going to talk about how his team may have made a statement game.
Christian, this is a great week to have you on, and we appreciate you coming on. No lineup needed. Moving to 5-5, taking out worst team ever, dropping a sliding worst team ever to 6-4 with a huge 161-113 victory. Christian, what was the key to your victory this week?
Well, it's not necessarily the key, but I do want to talk one point from the last podcast where Walt talked about fleecing me for Bijan. Took that and Arthur Smith shaved his mustache too, so I think that's like the big change. But no, it seems like my team got it together, and I don't know. I think the big key to victory has been the same key to victory I've had multiple times before, which is CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott's like now miraculous connection that they make every week.
Yeah.
The Cowboys finally figured out their best player on the field deserves the ball the most. But yeah, I think my team, I found some good plugins. That's really the only reason I won. I can't believe I won with Mahomes and Kelsey on my bench. That's all I'm going to say.
I mean, that's shocking. That point total is without two of your marquee guys.
Yeah, those guys. Yep.
But McBride was a great pickup, Christian. I think. And going forward, he might be a guy to. Although I've seen you have dangled him in front of these other very, I would say, starving owners because of all these injuries. So, but that was a great pickup for you.
Yeah. Yeah, McBride certainly seemed to be the key to that.
Yep.
Your new pickups got you 30 points with 18 from Tank Dell and 12 from Joe Mixon. On the other side of the ball, a Brock Purdy performance for 27 must make worst team ever smile about that. But that's pretty much it. Betrayed Tony Pollard again. Well, you're a Cowboys fan, and so this is going to be painful, but I'm going to ask you, can worst team ever continue to ride with Tony Pollard in the lineup?
Well, we were having some side conversations. I think Tony Pollard's on a 1 week lease right now. He's got one more week, and I don't blame him. I mean, I drafted him, third overall? Second? Whatever it was.
He was a high draft pick.
I mean,
very highly touted. This was the year.
Right.
Yeah.
And that might be one of the most disappointing, seasons so far for Tony Pollard, where everybody thought he was going to be, just scoring at least double digits every week. I mean, it's been very, very disappointing.
Yeah. And worst team ever, if they were on weighing in, we'd be getting on them for being a little depressed, but it's well earned with the Mark Andrews news now. Mark Andrews out for the year.
Yeah, and Jefferson doesn't, again, every week, I think, I'm waiting for Jefferson saying he's going to be back. And then it's another week he's not back.
Yep.
So he's losing. I mean, it is really tough when you start losing those high draft picks like that people you'd pick to count on. So now Andrews, Jefferson's still out.
Yep.
I mean, it's and Pollard's not doing what you want to do.
Yep.
I don't know. Seems that black cloud has found worst team ever again.
It has. He had Kyron Williams, which was we were talking about Kyron Williams. A great pickup on the waivers earlier. He's now unavailable. But on the bright side, Kenneth Walker was benched for this game. Puts up 20. So there is some hope. There's some hope that for the next week. He's still sitting in fourth place. He's
one win away, probably. That's the way he's got to look at it. I think
playoff mix. So we'll see. But a great performance, Christian, for you this week. 161 in the building block as you head into we're in the stretch now. 4 games left. Mm-hmm. You got 5 wins. Picking up a couple more seems much more realistic than it did a week ago.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. And all I'm going to say is I did, when I was on here last time, told you guys I would be in the playoffs with my team.
You did.
I said
You did.
They did.
When I had 3 wins. Yeah. So that's all I'll say is I believe in the boys.
All right, I like it. I have 3 wins, and I'm going to tell you all right now. I'm going to look right in the camera. I am not making the playoffs, and it makes me angry. And so, yes, let's move on.
It's got to happen at some point. Yeah. I don't know when, but it's got to happen.
I don't know.
Law of averages would say.
So another team that blew up this week for 148 points. The Springfield Rifle.
That was a smackdown, too.
This was quite a performance from the Rifle. They pick up that third win, 148-85 over Huey Lewis in the News. This is exactly when they want their team to explode. And this, despite getting only 6 points, Walt, from the quarterback position. How did the Rifle pull it off?
And 3 from Derrick Henry, which is even more surprising.
Yep.
But if you look from Debo down, I mean, Keenan Allen had a huge day. 41 points.
Yep.
George Kittle, really nice week. Cortland Sutton probably made one of the best catches I've seen in a long time.
I didn't see the game.
Oh, it was incredible.
Really?
The catch he made. I think someone said, I forgot the probability of someone making it was like 1% of making that catch. It was incredible.
Wow. That's impressive.
Then 13, 11. So, at the bottom of the lineup really came through for the Rifle.
Nice. Christian, when you're looking on the other side of the ball, Huey Lewis made the big trade for Josh Allen, and they get 15 points. Is this a case of Josh Allen just had a down week, or did Soaring Eagles know what they were doing with this trade?
So, I mean, I don't want to say Soaring Eagles know what they're doing, but
because they didn't.
I don't want to say that because I still think the dude got smoked. I'm not going to lie in that trade because I'll bring some insider information later about an offer I got made for Josh Allen that would make everyone's toes curl. But no, I think I think it's a down week. I mean, Josh Allen is a gunslinger. Like, people always talk about his interceptions being bad and his ball management not being the best. He would have like 21 points with the fumble and the ints removed. So it just wasn't a great game in general. I think it will be better going forward. I think with like the more I think the Bills just find a way to lose to bad teams, and then they'll always play the good teams well. So he has like Philly coming up, Dallas, KC, and I think he'll probably be able to put up very high scoring points then. So I'm not too worried if I'm
his receivers weren't in the game. You know, the Rams were on the bye, so he didn't have Kupp and Nakua available.
Yeah.
Jahmyr Gibbs has been playing like, you know, people I think expected a little bit too much too early from Jahmyr Gibbs, and he goes 25 points this week. So good things moving ahead, and they have some moves in the pipe as when we finish up with this week, we'll talk about trades. So have we covered everybody?
No, you got
whoa.
Sox fan 3276's favorite team, and unfortunately the Pantloads, they made duty in their pants because they really shit the bed and stunk it up. I'm just gonna say it.
This was one of the more, I hate to say it, this was one of the more exciting games of the week. And Soaring Eagles moves into first place, sole possession at 7-3, 118-110 over Sody Pantloads, who fall to 5-5. Well, when you look at this game, Soaring Eagles, we've been talking a lot about the moves that they've made. Are they tinkering too much, but they come up with this win? Is this because of what the owner's doing or in spite?
This was in spite. I mean, I don't know what he was thinking. He thought Will Levis, 7 points. I mean, that's what you're going to expect when you have a rookie on a team that's not a big throwing team. So he did win in spite of himself, and Ross St. Brown bailed him out in my mind. And then, of course, you know, it's the Zach Moss. Goose egg. That's just a
0 when he played the game.
Absolutely killer. And then, you know, I'm sure Sox fan will weigh in and how he feels about hearing about the pundits on TV telling you that Hawkinson's only going to, you know, basically get in there and they're going to manage his playing time. Werner, thank you. He had left 31 points on the bench versus 3 from Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
Just absolute dagger.
That hurts.
That's
That's a big swing. I mean, you're not going to overcome a 28-point swing.
No. So you put that in there, it's not, you know, it's not that close of a game. And that really, really hurt.
That's tough. I worry about Sody as, you know, they fall to 5-5. They have the last playoff spot right now. But to continue, here we are, and this is week 10, and Jonathan Taylor has been back, yet they're still in a position where Zach Moss is one of their starting running backs, and it's a concern for me because you know that Jonathan Taylor is eating into those carries.
Yep.
They're not going to 50-50 split these guys because of what they're paying Taylor.
Yep.
And so that's a concern. I'm going to be looking on the waiver wire, looking at the trades and seeing what Sody's going to do moving forward in the running back position.
Well, and now, unfortunately, too, you're dealing with Jamar Chase's value now has gone down a little with Burrow out for the season. So I'm a little. Hey, they're gonna Sox fan 3270 is gonna love this because I'm worried for the Pantloads, which maybe now that means they're gonna go on a roll and in prison because I hit Werner with my car.
With his car,
no, that makes sense. That makes sense.
From prison. That's Sox fan 7687 is sticking up for Sody 1,000%, even willing to commit aggravated assault / attempted murder.
I think for 31 points, it was. I understand.
Yes, that is. I understand that frustration, and so let's talk about the recent activity and the trades. And so I don't want to miss anything. The waiver wire and the trades have been burning up over the last week. And let's go back. We talked about the Soaring Eagles with the Will Levis trade last time. So as I bring up what's the next trade coming up, is it the Achan for Jacobs and Tagovailoa? Is that the latest trade?
Yeah, that's the latest. Yep.
All right, so let's talk about this. I need some input, Christian. It's good that you're on the line because I need input from you. So one of the problems with this trade is that one of the players that the Rifle was going to drop, not involved in the trade, played last night. And so now the trade, because the 24-hour review period crossed over that game, the trade is not official until Monday morning. So I have been asked as Commish, based on the 24-hour review period, can we stop this trade and maybe redo it, etc., drop someone that didn't play last night, etc. So I think back to your situation, Christian, with the co-host Walt, and you guys had a similar situation, but I don't recall whether your player was a dropped player or whether this was someone involved in the trade that played on Thursday night. Do you recall the circumstances, Christian?
Yeah, so I think it's that Godwin played Thursday night, and the only reason it didn't go through beforehand is because I think it was on Walt had someone in an IR spot that couldn't be there, so he had to drop someone and then push it through. It couldn't get done quick enough. But I just want to say, though, I think I need to recuse myself from this because I'm playing Huey this week, so this could influence my matchup.
No.
So, like, I would obviously decide of, oh, great, it's coming in Monday, wonderful, but I don't want to weigh the scales here.
No, I agree. We won't solicit any more input. Chat's open, phone lines are open. If anyone else has anyone to weigh in on this situation, as Commish, I'm fully aware of the equity situations here. Walt has weighed in that he really doesn't care much. But I have to start thinking about the future and what we're going to do with this. And I think what the question is do we as a league want, during that 24-hour period, the trades after they're accepted don't go through for a day, do we want a situation where teams can then approach me as Commish and request a veto of the trade? Or no? Do we just want that? Because I have never vetoed a trade. I have been tempted. I've seen some trades where I went, ooh, God. But I'm really only supposed to do that, I think, when I see some terrible injustice going on.
Yeah.
And that's like, what commissioner is going to do that? You got to let your owners make their decisions. So do we want to be able to have people basically go back on a trade during the 24-hour review period?
So, I mean, I think, the situation seems unfortunate. And again, please take my commentary to the side because it does affect my matchup. But I feel like the veto, to me, doesn't necessarily make a ton of sense. Because I think our league, it didn't used to be this way when I used to not pay attention, but everyone is very active now. In I don't think I've seen a league that, at least that I've been in, that everyone, like all these players that are either consistently wanted or that have high value off the waiver wire are always taken. So I think we have very active owners, and it seems to me that a veto, I think a fleecing is okay if we have active owners that if they make a trade that ends up being really bad or that looks really bad, that's kind of what happens. But I think we're all very involved, and we have at least some fantasy football knowledge. So to me, I think that if you accept, it should go through, even if it, unless you I don't know, I don't know how it would go through, and you wouldn't want to go through with it if you press accept. Obviously, this is a very left.
Yeah.
Well,
what do you think?
Yeah, so the thing that I do like in favor of allowing you, so I'm not for vetoing. I think the way to do it is, you have the ability to push, just add the roster moves and, do that as commissioner.
Yeah.
So
I could make it not be a Monday thing. I could let this trade go through and fix the Monday problem.
Yeah, so I'm in favor of doing it that way personally. And again, it's the person involved that's dropped, it's had no bearing on it at all. And I think I will say the only thing is we're all accountable for our actions. And as an owner, I screwed up and you pay the price, right?
Yes.
For screwing up.
Yes.
I didn't pay attention.
Right.
I didn't see it.
Right.
And, I kind of screwed Christian too, maybe, because the trade didn't go through. So, I think that's the only one piece. If I had 2% of me says we're all accountable as owners, we should be paying attention. But in this case, I don't know. You don't even have a person you're really talking about a drop.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's a drop.
That's what makes it tough. And I love everybody, even though I hate everybody because my team's 3-7 and we suck. Someone vandalized the studio, and even left a sign that said the knuckleheads suck. So we're subject to vandalism. But I don't.
What?
I haven't made a decision yet. I appreciate the feedback, and I'm going to ponder it. So there's a part of me that understands yeah, this was just, hey, I was trying to flush some garbage off my roster to make this trade, and it turned out, damn it, they were playing, and now it locked up the trade.
Right.
There's another part of me that says that I generally, as Commish, have let the software run this league, and so are we making some sort of exception to the rule now? I'll weigh it. I see both sides. I don't know that it's necessarily a huge deal. I just have to look down the road about equity. And so I'll ponder the equity part of it and come to a decision soon enough. We're not going to decide this on the pod. Was looking for just a little owner feedback. But as we check the chat, it's after the Folsom State had probably cut off Sox fan 7687 from the Wi-Fi limits. They probably get 5 minutes a day.
And I don't think are felons allowed to vote or anything like that. So I'm not really sure we could let Sox fan 32.
They might not be able to do that. Yeah.
I just want to know how you got the phone into the prison. That seems like quite the sticky situation. That be already that deep in the prison economy.
It's true. It's true.
I'd love input there to see what his time's been like. I don't know when he got or anything like that, but no.
And he's grooming coups now, which I don't like that either. Right? There's a lot of some shady stuff going on there. I know the water.
Wait a minute. I think you can go through because it was accepted pre-kickoff, so that's pretty good insight.
Oh, now that's a really good point.
That's
too.
A good point. It was before Thursday that the trade was accepted, and Sox fan knows the warden at Folsom State. So
interesting.
That's great. That's great. Just don't drink that yellow water because that's not great.
And they did reach out to you as well, really early on, correct?
They reached out to me before the end of the 24-hour period.
Yeah, and I didn't even do that, or we just I think that helps their case a little too.
A little bit.
Yeah.
We'll weigh it. Commish will ponder this.
You'll do the right thing no matter
12
what.
hours, and we'll figure it out. So that is exchanges. The waiver wire has been blowing up. I have already expressed that I'm merely looking to protect players from you owners getting them, and I will continue to do that. And so, Whopper Moppers, if you don't think I'm looking at quarterbacks with my budget that's remaining right now,
watch out, buddy.
Right, you're in trouble. Offer me some trades. I'll have a quarterback. So, yeah, I'm in spoiler mode. But, yeah, everyone is really going hard right now. 4 weeks left.
Yeah, the trade... everybody, and again, that I said it last week, and I'm sticking to it. There's nobody confident about where they are, because the amount of trades and the offers, that shows no one's feeling really, really great. I would say maybe of all the trades now, who feels the best might be Christian, because I do think he made some really good strategic trades.
Yeah. We didn't talk about, where was your, hold on.
Oh, yeah, my trade.
Seeing your trade?
Oh, I don't know. It's a good question.
Because I've got the Will Levis trade.
Maybe.
Oh, he dropped. Oh, that's why I missed it. So the other trade is between Born to Run and the Soaring Eagles that we want to talk about. And then we got to talk about the Beans and the Pant Loads. So there's been a bunch of trades. So Born to Run traded Calvin Ridley and C.J. Stroud for DeAndre Swift and Khalil Herbert. So, Walt, I'm gonna throw in on that. Last week we talked about how Soaring Eagles had made the big Josh Allen trade, and it seems as though you threw him a little bit of life here with the C.J. Stroud. Tell me about your thought process here.
So I compare it to the government bailout of the savings and loan in the late 80s and 90s, and I would say I did the same for the Soaring Eagles. So this was a really tough trade to make for me because, one, I know I have no margin for error. So to take a loss this week against the Moppers, one of the best teams in the league, and I saw Stevenson's on a bye, and I was looking at, rolling the dice with Devontae Foreman, who with Herbert I heard they were going to activate, and then I got James Cook, who was spent a little time in the doghouse against the Denver game. I didn't like what I saw there. So I'm like, I need a running back. The Soaring Eagles have a very nice lineup of running backs. And, of course, I'm pretty sure after the 7 points of Will Levis, I had a feeling he was hoping for a trade.
He needed a QB.
Exactly. So, I'm like, hey, if I'm going to do this, though, I'm going to make sure I take a guy that's one of his best guys. Because it's very important to keep the balance, the competitive balance in the league, and I'm not going to do anything that I feel would upset that. And that's why it was a tough decision, because I know, again, I was bailing him out a little on that. But again, I think actually Jordan said it last year, Soaring Eagles. He doesn't care who wins if it's not him. So I did have a little of that feeling. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, so I do think it made a lot of sense for me. I think it made me way stronger.
I agree.
And, it definitely helped him. But that's what a trade's about sometimes.
Absolutely.
It's got to be mutually beneficial. So that's why I went back and forth, and I got Herbert out of it, and I was done with Ridley.
You should have been done with.
I should have been.
Ridley, yeah.
With a couple, he's another guy I held on too long, and just thinking. Yep. I just got too stubborn, I would say, if I recap my whole year.
Too much buzz around Calvin Ridley, and just failed to perform this
exactly.
year.
So that's why I offered. I've never seen a trade accepted so quick. I think, and so it was good though, and I think, again, overall, I think it was pretty mutually beneficial and gives me a much better shot at the Moppers this week.
I like it. I don't know what I just did. I just activated something that I don't want. Hold on, let me get rid of that. All right, so Christian, when you look at this, Born to Run picks up 2 running backs in this, giving up C.J. Stroud. I'm not sure that Calvin Ridley necessarily finds his way into Soaring Eagles lineup on a regular basis, but James Cook has been the guy that Born to Run has been riding with. They've got this weird situation now with Lenny Fournette kind of hovering in the wings. Is he going to start coming in and vulturing touches? So do you see this as better for one side than the other in this Soaring Eagles and Born to Run trade?
Well, I want to put a bit of context and go back to when Josh Allen was traded, just because I said I had some insider info here.
Sure.
But I was also, because I knew last week was a big week for me. Like, if I get the win, I think I have a good shot. If I don't get the win, I think I have an okay, but I have to rely on Huey losing to keep the place. So I'm like, okay, maybe, I have Mahomes on the bench. If the 7-3 team's willing to sack a week, we could do a trade that works because we have 2 of the best QBs in the league. And he gave me, for Mahomes and Kelsey, the same trade he got. He tried to give me Gus Edwards and Josh Allen for Mahomes and Kelsey. That's what I got offered. And then he goes and gets Jonathan Taylor. I was flabbergasted when I saw this trade go through. That's the only reason I feel comfortable saying this. I was actually so offended by that. I was read my eye. But
wow.
That is an impressive trade offer.
Now, I was actually pretty offended. But now bringing it to the Monitors, I think it works well for both parties. But I think Walt gets a better end personally. Walt transformed his running backs. Obviously, he doesn't have Ramondre this week, but you have DeAndre Swift, which is one of the best running backs this year. Ramondre, which is a serviceable RB2, and you went from Bijan and Tony Pollard to DeAndre Swift and Ramondre, which seems pretty good. Yeah. And especially because, Stroud, he's looked great, but how could you stop starting Dak? And Dak is one of the best schedules going into playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So I love this trade for you, Walt. That's the only reason I find it so funny is because I'm like, I can't believe that he almost tried to steal my players from me like that. But yeah, so I think it works for both parties. He needed someone. I offered him Fields, and he wasn't confident in him. So I was like, it works. It works. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think that Soaring Eagles is trying to improve their roster. They were certainly in that scenario. It seemed like they were trying to improve it at your expense, but ultimately they're in first place. That's how you get in first place.
That's right. Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's pretty good.
And then again, I'll say this: he wins the championship. I'll feel like I take a little piece of it. I'll give myself a 0.25.
Yeah, a good trade. I think a good trade for Soaring Eagles picking up C.J. Stroud to fill that void because C.J. Stroud has been hot. He's when you're weighing him against Dak, then that's
the thing. Why I keep 2 guys like that on the on your roster. I can't play both of them, so that's why that's also made it a little easier to do. Yeah, I don't know what's going on in Colorado. If the Soaring Eagles were altitude when they made that offer to you, Christian, or they
they've just been in diabolical mode. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just maybe me 10 years ago would have taken that trade if I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. Good point. Good point.
I mean, I'm all open for like the try and fleece, but like I was like, I think I responded. I think we just see our value at QB a little differently, and then that was it.
That's interesting.
But then what he took. I mean, you're right, Christian. It's almost insulting to you to say.
Yeah, well, that's the big thing is like if this guy got like a haul back in like something, I would be like, okay,
yeah,
I was wrong. But like
he took a mere pittance for his
Mahomes and Kelsey. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
So Huey
it.
Lewis has weighed in on the trade discussion.
Oh, nice.
Is that they're voting that in the future that trades go through automatically after acceptance, with an option for Commish to veto, which that
makes sense too.
Yeah, I can see that. I'm not sure that I can do that. I don't know that the software allows for it, but I will look into that also as I weigh this. And we have another trade to talk about. Sody Pantloads and Boston Beans do some swapping. Boston Beans get rid of Jalen Warren, but not Najee Harris, and Terry McLaurin for Garrett Wilson from the Jets. Walt, your take on this trade?
I thought again it was a pretty good trade for both. I do like that the Pantloads picked up Jalen Warren. He seems like he's the hot guy now for Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good. So I would if Kuz is on the chat, I'd be curious to see how he must have felt good about Garrett Wilson, because that to me had to be part of the driver.
I don't know whether that's like, is this like Aaron Rodgers is coming back early talk, because people keep saying Aaron Rodgers is going to be playing in the regular season, which is outrageous to me, but maybe, that guy can do some pretty incredible things. And does that then pump Garrett Wilson up considerably? I think it has to.
And again, I would like to hear, what he would have to say about that, because, I mean, he pretty much traded, I think, two pretty good guys for one guy, and so I do like the Pantloads. I thought that was a really smart trade. Tony, we'll see.
Yeah,
you might be smarter than me. Like you said, with Rodgers come back, Wilson is the guy we all thought it would be when he got drafted really high. Then it's a good trade for Tony, for sure.
Christian, what do you think? Jalen Warren and Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin, a pretty consistently underrated wide receiver in fantasy football, for one Garrett Wilson. Do you make that trade?
Well, I guess the only thing from like Tony's end to defend him on this is, if you look at like Garrett Wilson's actual like last 4 games, it's like 17, 18, 13, 18, which is not where you drafted him. Right. But I don't think Tony is gonna. I don't think Tony's gonna play Jalen Warren in his lineup. Like that, the only way I can see it is if he thought that those players would be consistently on the bench, and you'd just be subbing out McLaurin for Wilson. Like that kind of makes sense if you're trying to like optimize your lineup. So I like kind of making the bet on Robinson that hopefully he doesn't get injured, or hopefully McCaffrey doesn't get injured, and then he'll just ride this team out. But I think it works for Sody, because I wouldn't want to have Zach Moss in my lineup anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
And how big a downgrade? Like he could view it the same way of like maybe it's a sell high on Garrett Wilson and he gets barely a downgrade and a better running back. So I think this is like a wait and see.
Definitely.
I think it could win Tony a championship if Garrett Wilson really pops off, if Rodgers comes back, or maybe Zach Wilson decides to have 1 or 2 good games once in his career. But yeah, so to me, this was more of a, compared to the other trades, this was much more of a down the middle, sort of like 2 teams that people they want.
It's dependent upon Wilson, I think. Garrett Wilson's draft position was based on Aaron Rodgers being the quarterback of the New York Jets, and so we'll see if that starts to bear out over the next few weeks. That could be an intriguing pickup at a good time for that.
But you made a good point, Christian. I think I would say it ain't gonna lose Tony the championship this trip.
No,
true.
That's so. If you look at it that way,
why not make the
right? You roll the dice. So I agree with that as well.
All right, let's look at this coming week's games, which is already kicked off because we're talking here on Friday night. Walt, where do you want to start with Week 11 action?
Let's go. Again, I don't want to change a thing. Let's talk about me and the Moppers.
All right, Born to Run taking on Whopper Moppers. 3-7 must-win territory, taking on 7-3 second-place Whopper Moppers. Right now, the Prodigies have Whopper Moppers edging out Born to Run 113 and 109, and they carry 9 points. And this is right now, it's a lead for the Whopper Moppers, but I see this as a deficit for them. Joe Burrow goes out hurt for 9 points, not only for this game, but for the rest of the year.
I hate seeing that happen. You never want someone to suffer an injury. I don't mind he suffers it against me for 1 week or whatever.
Sure.
But to lose him for the season, when he's trying to get his first championship, and I don't know, there's certain owners who always seem to find a way to get bad luck. So I feel bad for the Moppers, but I do need a win. I'm not going to be overly upset. But looking at, there's two things I see that should give the Moppers hope this week. Ayuk against Tampa.
Oh, sure.
I just think the Niners are going to light up Tampa Bay in that not so great secondary.
Yeah.
AJ against Kansas City. I think it is going to be a shootout.
Uh-huh.
So that's, I think, one reason to be optimistic. Devin Singletary against Arizona. That's nice, too.
Yep.
And then on my side, Cook against the Jets. Don't love it. I got to plug him in. I do like DeAndre Swift a lot. I like Addison a lot. I like Waddle a lot, even though Las Vegas, their D is a lot better. But, I got, Dak worries me. I'm a Cowboy fan.
Yeah, it's hard.
And I'm pretty much putting my whole season on Dak.
He's hot now, but when that cools
When's it
off,
going to stop, right?
Yep.
And he's on the road. Cowboys aren't great on the road.
Yep.
So we'll see. This, to me, is a big telling game. If Dak scores 30, I'm going to really feel good about my chances going forward. But if he comes back to earth, which I think is a definite possibility, I might be in trouble.
Yep. Kuz has weighed in on the previous conversation saying that AR is coming back.
There you go.
It sure seems like it is, so
Yep.
that does add that value to that Garrett Wilson pickup. Christian, Dak Prescott, the key to Born to Run in this week against Whopper Moppers and moving forward?
Absolutely. And all I'm going to say is I'm 100% in Born to Run's camp because I know if Dak's doing good, CD's doing good.
You got that right.
So I view our team as like a tandem because if I see 30 points out of Dak, I know there's at least 20 going to CD. So I like one thing I think is actually underrated on the Whopper Mopper side, though. I think Devin Singletary, that Arizona defense is not good, and he just put up 150 yards in a TD. So I think that might be an X factor. But yeah, I think Dak is the real deal, at least on the second half of this season.
Yeah, I hope so, Christian. It's like you said, I think we're in tandem. As I go, you go, or vice versa, which either way you want to look at it, because I totally agree with you on that one. So we shall see what happens. But I'm optimistic, and like you said, I think the Cowboys realize that, if you got one of the better receivers in the NFL, you got to get them engaged in the game early and often, and I think that's what you're finally seeing. It only took 3 seasons for them to figure that out, but.
Yeah, it was kind of wild. I was just on the game, they were trying to double cover him, and he was still catching balls. I'm like, yeah, this is all I need to know. I made a good choice in my pick.
Oh yeah, and that's because they're finally moving them around instead of just keeping them in what. So, that's what teams do with good players. They move them around, give them good matchups, and we both are pretty happy with that.
Very much so.
All right, where are we going for the next game?
Let's talk at the, Eeyore of the league, he would say. Worst team ever in the Beans.
Worst team ever taking on Boston Beans this week. Interesting game from two teams that are at the more towards the top of our standings. Worst team ever at 6-4, former first place team. Opponent at fourth right now at 6-4, taking on Boston Beans, one step ahead of them at 7-3, the third place team. Right now, worst team ever is up 4-0, and the Prodigies have this one going to the Boston Beans by quite some total, 132-112. Walt, does that Prodigy hold up?
I mean, McCaffrey against Tampa. Go back to my previous comment. I mean, that's rough. If I guess worst team ever. If you get McCaffrey, if it sticks to the projection in 23, I'd be pretty happy about that, to be honest with you, because I could see that being well into the 30s.
It could be a disaster.
Yeah, and, the Andrews thing's bad, but it's not a death sentence. And, wow, so it looks like Minnesota activated Justin Jefferson. So, wow, that's huge.
That's huge.
Huge.
Yep. Yep.
So I think projections might be off. I think it's going to be a really competitive game. So I don't know. I think strength of schedule of opponents, I'll give the Beans, will eke it out, a real close one.
All right, Christian, what do you think about this lineup between Worst Team Ever and Boston Beans?
I just think the Boston Beans matchups, their players are scary, but their matchups are also pretty scary. I mean, I think it's going to be an absolute shootout with Kansas City and Philly. Like, that is easily one of the best games probably this season that we'll watch.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
Yep.
And then you have McCaffrey, which you lock him in against anyone, and then you lock him in against a bad team. I just think those two players could really turn the tides. And I mean, with Mike Evans, sort of the other side of that coin, Tampa Bay's gonna be down big. They're just gonna be tossing the ball, and Baker already loves to do that. So I think Evans could also have. I think he could have 3 players that dominate this matchup. And then on Worst Team Ever's side, I don't actually think Justin Jefferson's going to play based off what I've read. I think a lot of people are saying no. So if that's the case, I think this game's out of hand. I think who's he slotting in? Romeo Dobbs? That, if he doesn't play, I think that's a death sentence.
Oh, definitely, Christian. Absolutely, you're spot on with that.
So I have to give it to the Beans. And I mean, one thing I wanted to say earlier is I gave a 24-hour grace period, but you know that with Trey McBride on my bench, I'm tapping Tyler's line of who do you want or who are you going to give up to get McBride for next week. So I gave him 24 hours of a great morning, but that's you got to turn the page, man, in our league. Exactly.
You do it, you mourn, but you got to move on and turn the page. So
Agreed.
I agree with you. Worst Team Ever needs to pull it together and just get on there. It's a problem, and go out there and try to solve it. So that's what you got to do as an owner sometimes. The other nice part is the marquee game is that the Monday night's the Philly Kansas City, which I can't think of a better game to cap off the week, and especially with the impact it'll probably have on so many of our games.
Agreed. Working on some technical difficulties, folks, so continue to discuss the game. Walt, why don't you pick the next game?
Okay, let's go. Huey, let's talk with you, Christian. Huey and you. It's a big game. Big game. So you had a nice day, or night, I should say, out of Joe Mixon with Burrow being hurt, and you still got 20 out of Mixon.
You're welcome.
That was very nice. And Tucker, also a nice night. So good start. Are you feeling confident with that start?
I am. I mean, I do have to take into account, I don't know if he's going to have A-Chain instead of, Hollywood Brown.
Right.
I'm assuming that could change. Obviously, I do have a pretty decent, I think, starting out, I'm feeling pretty good. That could change. A-Chain could get the ball 5 times and put up 30 points. So I really don't know what to expect with him. But I'm feeling good. Even with the players I don't have in, I have Pittman and Bijan on bye this week. I'm feeling decent. I mean, Darrell Henderson, I was lucky enough that no one went for him somehow on waivers, so I got him instead of Chuba Hubbard, which is a great feeling to have. But I think my matchups are super, super good. I think that Philly game, he's not. We all know who Mahomes is throwing to, especially if it's a big game like that. So I feel good about that. I think Commish, I know we talked about it. You talked about it last week, but I personally felt really good about our trade. I think Tank Dell is an emerging player. So I'm liking my matchups this week. Even Godwin, we talked about Mike Evans getting the ball a lot because Baker's throwing. I think Godwin has the chance to sort of write a down season.
Mm-hmm.
But with the upside that Huey has, I'm never going to be comfortable. He could have 3 players that go 30 points, 4 players or 5 players that go 30 points or more, and I wouldn't be surprised. So I have to balance my. I'm in a comfortable position, but never sit on your laurels against Huey.
I agree. Well, Josh Allen versus the Jets this week. Jets are traditionally a tough against the pass, and Josh Allen has been stumbling a little bit. Is this the week that Josh Allen justifies this trade, or do we start to continue to see that Soaring Eagles got a little bit of the upper hand here?
I don't like Josh Allen, man. He's like a turnover machine.
11 interceptions, leads to the NFL right now.
I don't love it. So, I wouldn't be counting on him as the reason for a win. He scares me a little on that. I'm not confident about Josh Allen right now, even though you look at where he is position-wise in fantasy.
Yeah,
the numbers
he was
are
the
there.
number one
Right.
when they got traded, and
Yep.
and he has some off weeks, but he's still an amazingly talented guy and an amazingly talented team.
Exactly. So it's going to be. This is a great game. I look forward to this. I think this is going to have such a, impact to the overall standings and playoff race because Huey loses. Boy, they're right back there with all of us.
That's not where you want to be.
That's not where. It's like a big drain. It's
not.
pulling everybody down.
You don't want to be down with us. No.
Well, I think so. I remember back to last week as well when Tyler made the seemingly absurd comment that one of you was going to be in the playoffs, whoever won last. But what I'm going to say is if Tyler's not in the best position, and if I win, I'll pass him.
Yeah.
So my hot take will be if Tyler loses and I win, I think that Walt will be replacing Tyler in the playoffs.
Wow.
I actually think that with how the team is looking, I'll put my hot take right there.
Wow.
I gotta start writing this stuff down.
I know.
I have to have a notepad here because I forget sometimes week to week.
This is
good stuff.
If
I love it.
And if I win and Tyler loses, I think that's where because I'll pass him. I already have more points than him, and I don't know. His team is like falling apart. It's looking like a car with 200,000 miles on it right now.
Boy,
that's my hot take.
I like it.
And the car's a Kia on top of it. So you know what I mean? Yeah.
I like the confidence. I love it. And we'll see. So we had talked last week off air about doing a little early bracketology, and I think next week we're going to have to do that. I think we're going to do a little premature bracketology and see exactly what is going to move around as these teams move around this week. So that'll be fun. We
got to go to the pan loads and the rifle.
This is going to be.
It looks like a good score, but when you break it down a little, it's a little concerning.
Yep. Right now, the pant loads jumped out to a Thursday night 40-10 lead over the pant loads. Over the rifle. I'm sorry. Pant loads at 5-5, 6th place, taking on the 3-7, 8th place Springfield rifle. Right now, the Prodigies have it for the rifle 120 to 113. Pant loads jump out to this big total based on Lamar Jackson's good night, but not a good night for Jamar Chase. And mediocre day for the Ravens D. It's all right, but 10 points from your kicker to kickstart a week where you're ready to go and for a win. Walt, does the rifle continue and take this game?
I hate to say it. Sox fans gonna love this. I do think the rifle's gonna win this game. Eckler against Green Bay, that's a nice one, along with Keenan Allen. Debo against Tampa. Oh boy, that's not great.
Yes, please.
Kittle. So, yeah. Now the downside is the rifle's got a lot of eggs in one basket with that San Francisco game.
Yes.
and the interesting, he has Tampa. So, could that backfire? We said defenses have played a big role. If you roll with Debo and Kittle, big games, they score a lot. You might be minus points there. So who knows?
A little balancing.
Yeah, but and that's unfortunate. Again, the Burrow thing killed Chase. 9 points out of Chase. Oof.
Yep. I'm not sure that we don't know that Russell Wilson will be the quarterback for this team this week, but we'll see. Christian, Sody Pantlows versus Springfield Rifle. Who takes it?
Yeah, this is tough. I'm definitely leaning towards the rifle. And then just imagine if you replace Russell Wilson with Tua and then like Debo or Courtland Sutton with Josh Jacobs.
Yeah.
Like that would be quite the tough matchup. But I mean, I have to go with the rifle here. I think he just has like all his stars and they're all ready to go. I mean, Keenan Allen, I don't know. I don't know if he practiced today or not, but that could be one thing that I don't hope for injury, but might be saving grace Sody has.
I think they're limiting him. I think he's going to play.
Yeah.
I think they're holding him back. I didn't check today's report, but I think Keenan Allen was just basically being managed. So I think you'll see him take the field. which is a great advantage to have that player.
Yeah, it said he was a full participant today, and he said he'll be out there this week. Yeah, so like you said, they're just managing it for him.
So we've got a great week 11 on tap, and we're gonna shake out the standings after some games go on. This is gonna be an exciting weekend.
Oh, you didn't talk about your game though.
No, so no one needs to talk about my game.
This is
We
huge.
missed a game. We missed
did.
A game. Oh no.
It's a family affair here.
Oh, that's right. It's the Soaring Eagles, the number one team in BARFF fantasy football, taking on
Not the worst though. I have less points. So
the ninth place
Yep.
Knuckleheads. Right now, every ounce of common sense that anyone has the Soaring Eagles pulling this one off. It's a 0-0. Right now, the Prodigies are 127 to 114 in favor of the Soaring Eagles. Walt, any hope for the Knuckleheads?
I'm looking. Okay, so let's look at this. Miami's not been great against the pass. Devontae was targeted way more. Antonio Pierce figured out, again, you got your best player on the field, you got to get him the ball. So if we see a resurgence there, and Herbert, did not have he had a great game last week. Green Bay's a good opportunity for that. So I'll say this: you need more than 15 out of Barkley. Yeah. If you can get Barkley into the 20s, I think the Knuckleheads have a chance.
All right, Christian, Soaring Eagles versus Knuckleheads. Who takes it?
I think this is going to be tight, but I'm just going to say, I know he's not a trustworthy player, but seeing Devonta Smith in this no Goddard big shootout game.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to make any. I'm not trying to make roster
changes. It's hard. I know. It's hard.
If you want to punch the first place team in the mouth, you get a 30-point game out of Devonta Smith and you close it on them.
So he might have a point there. Was DJ Moore gonna? Who has the bigger, ceiling?
I just feel that Chicago is going to be down quick, and they're going to be throwing the ball the whole game.
And Fields is playing, if I'm not mistaken.
Fields is good to go.
So we'll see.
And somehow DJ Moore, it says, this is real? He's the 8th ranked receiver?
Oh, yeah.
Because of the week he killed you all.
Yeah, he blew up for one giant week.
Yeah, I remember quite well. But that's amazing to me, even with that that he stayed at that. So
he's been playing well, and he needs Justin Fields to come back because they have that chemistry. But I feel like with Kirk, Devontae Adams, DJ Moore, and Devonta Smith, I've got a really great receiving core, and it's resulted in a 3-7 record. I've got Ty Chandler in there just to show to the league that I got Ty Chandler because I didn't want Ty Chandler. I just took him so that you guys wouldn't get him. That's correct. And that will continue for the next 4 weeks as I plunge my way into the bottom 4 again. This is what the Knuckleheads do.
I think if you're putting him in for spite, I think Ty Chandler gets a big day. I think that reason there alone.
I like spite stuff. Yeah, I'm with you.
He might just. I would only hope. I can only hope that would happen. That would make me very happy. So. And so that is the show for the week. Sorry about the technical difficulties. Don't know how that showed up to everybody on the screen. I'm amazed that we fixed them, to be honest with you.
And we kept going.
And we kept going on. So some really interesting games coming up this week. I hope that they're better competitive-wise than last week. And then let's do some bracketology next week.
Yeah, we need some nail-biters. So, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let's see how this season's going to shake out. So if you're tuning in right now, make sure that you tune in next week. We're going to weigh in how the last 3 weeks of the season are going to impact playoffs. That should be a really good discussion because certainly there will be different opinions on how teams are going to go. Christian, it was great to have you call in tonight. Thank you for your insight.
It's always a pleasure.
Thanks, Christian.
All right, I will make the decision on all this trade talk at another time. We're just going to be happy that we have another good pod done, and good luck to all.
Good luck, everyone.
And that didn't even work. Oh, that's because I had the button pushed wrong. There we go.
There we go.
All
We're
right.
gone.
Good luck to all people. Good night.